This is part 2 of the episode of this week's episode because Janet took an hour and now we have Patrick. So this is part 2 and we're going to find out from an owner's perspective what it's like owning a cellar.
Today we're uncorking an incredible conversation with Patrick Spensley, the visionary owner of Cherry Creek Cellars, a gem in Michigan's thriving wine country. Patrick's journey isn't just about crafting award-winning wines. It's a story of passion, innovation, and deep roots. In the land from hand-tending vines to pioneering sustainable practices, he's redefining what Michigan wine can be. So whether you're a wine enthusiast or just love stories of entrepreneurial spirit, you won't want to miss this sip of wisdom. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the podcast, Patrick.
Thanks for being here and having me.
Patrick owns Cherry Creek Cellars.
I do. It's been quite the journey. Lots of fun. I tell everybody there are certainly worse places to be stuck at work. So we have fun with it. We hope everybody else has fun with it when they show up. I know Janet mentioned a lot of the events and sort of things that we have going on. So always a good reason to come out and see us.
When you're running the events, do you get to enjoy the events too, or you're so busy running around?
Yeah, no, I've tried to get better over the years. Obviously, I've done my time in a little bit of all the different aspects of running the business. So you'll catch me behind the bar at some of the events, or out taking cover charges at our big music nights, or rarely but occasionally back in the kitchen. But I'll try to stay away from that as much as I can. But yeah,
I have noticed you are hands-on.
Yeah. I do. I truly enjoy it, and we have there's an unbelievable team here that can take a lot of the load off of my plate, and so occasionally do get to step back and enjoy it and take it all in. But it's whether it's the little bit of the winemaking side of things, out in the vineyard. I mean, those are things that was my kind of intro to the industry in its beginning, so I still thoroughly enjoy that side of it, even if I lean on some of the other staff to do a little bit more of the day-to-day on that stuff now. But when I have the opportunity to be there and doing that, I really enjoy it. Same thing with being behind the bar or being part of the events and serving our igloo dinners or our winemakers dinner series. All of it, it's all really rewarding.
You must know a lot of people, I bet.
There are. I'm better at. I certainly recognize a lot of faces.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Then I always have been.
You recognize the stumbling walks.
Yeah. I know you from somewhere. I'm guessing it's Cherry Creek, but no, that's another really fun side of it as well. Just being able to strike up conversation. Nobody's here to have a bad time or here to complain about their day. So the conversations we do get to have with people are fun and engaging and interesting and what brought you here? Are you local? You're traveling across the country and you stumbled upon us? Or
do you get a lot of out-of-towners?
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent part of especially during the summer months. Whether it's we've got we're part of a network called Harvest Hosts, which allow for kind of one night overnight RV stops. Somebody that's not setting up to camp for a week, but are trying to get from point A to point B and need somewhere to spend a night in between.
Well, they'll park down here.
So park here for the night, spend the night, come in, do a tasting or something, and on the way you go in the morning. So things like that. And being
how cool.
a tourism destination of sorts. So you get the agritourism side of the industry is for sure part of it, and you get people that are just, I mean, we're not that far off of I-94 or being old US 12 right here, the old Chicago to Detroit highway that you get people kind of traveling the old route occasionally too. So yeah, it's a lot of locals, a lot of lake life.
A lot of locals
in the summer. Yeah, you can count yourself among those. Even with the accent. Yeah.
So how did you get in the industry?
Yeah, kind of by happenstance. I took off. I went and spent the better part of a year in New Zealand back in 2011, and the reason for being in the industry at that time was just it was a way to earn a few bucks and to extend my stay over there. So I was able to work a little bit, travel a little bit, did some pruning, did some harvest, did some time in the cellar during crush, but they were kind of 3-4 week stints, and then would travel and then work another 3 or 4 weeks and then travel. But decided that while I was doing that, I really fell in love with the people, the industry, and so really before I even got back to the States, I started looking at some continuing education program so I could kind of get up to speed in the educational component of grape growing and winemaking. And started looking for a job, somebody that would put me to work with my, at that time, very, very limited experience, even though I had spent some time doing it in New Zealand.
So did you work here before you owned it?
I did. So when I got back in 2011, John and Adise Berkta, who founded Cherry Creek in 2003, they were the first ones to return. I think it was an email at that time while I was still in New Zealand, and said, well, when you land, come on out and see us, and we'll chat, and we'll see if we've got something that would work. So yeah, when I got back at the end of 2011, I started part-time out here helping on bottling days and pruning days and that sort of thing. And so from 2011 until 2018, was an employee here, and in 2018, bought the winery from them on a land contract, and worked for them, kind of their first shoe to drop in their retirement plan. So luckily for them, yeah, they've built a well-established, great business.
They must have trusted you a lot.
I'd certainly hope so. Yeah. I mean, I think that was part of the rapport that I'd built with them over the years, and I'd spent my time in the cellar, spent my time in the vineyard, in the tasting room, had a pretty good feel for all the different aspects of the business. Definitely still even some things to learn after that, and continue to learn as a business owner on that side of things, but knew what I was stepping into before I decided to kind of go in blindly or jump off that.
You are super busy, as I understand it, because I know you and Holly are part of the Irish Hills Chamber of Commerce board.
We are.
And on any other boards?
Yeah, I actually just ended my term on the board for the Michigan Wine Collaborative. So that's kind of the board for the industry in the state, pushing tourism dollars towards wineries and their operations, and making it known that, hey, there's more to the Michigan wine industry than just Traverse City, which they've got the reputation in the state, and rightfully so. And there's big, beautiful, gorgeous, excellent wineries up there. But we are down here in the Irish Hills, where there's multiple spots and stops for you as well. And then that's, I guess you take that to a more local level with what Holly and I are doing at the Irish Hills Chamber, and kind of pushing that towards that same kind of messaging towards the local businesses as well. So,
do you meet up with other winery owners?
Yeah, so we are part of, in addition to the wine collaborative and the chamber. There's a small little wine trail down here now as well that stretches from here at Cherry Creek down through. So there's Chateau Aeronautique and let's see who else, the
Pentamere. I just saw this on Facebook.
Yeah, we've got our event going on. So Pentamere and Flying Otter as well. So
do you do collaborative events?
We do. So twice a year we do our wine trail event, which is a self-driving food and wine pairing. So at each of the stops, so we do one in May and one in September, and each stop you get a kind of a highlighted food and wine pairing prepared by the winery, and highlighting either a new release wine or a seasonal wine. There you go.
Cool.
It sounds like we've got your next day on the road.
Drive, huh?
Yeah.
Is it all in one day?
They do 1 day, 4 stops in 1 day. There's some of the larger events like Taste of the Irish Hills that the Chamber of Commerce just put on. That's a multiple 2-day event thing. But this one, with only 4 stops, we figure you can, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., you can probably space it out.
Do you ever taste a wine from somewhere else and go, ooh, I wonder how we can do something like this?
Yeah, it is. Again, you mentioned kind of getting together with other owners and so forth. That's part of the fun of the industry, whether it's our collaborative events like that, or hey, anytime you go out for a weekend away or something, that you don't have to look far in the state or around the country or around the world. If there's somebody that's making and producing wine, and it's always, whether you're in a different region, to see what are they doing differently than what we're doing. And a lot of times it just comes down to growing season or varietals that they can grow that we can't. Here within the state, it's hey, are you working with any varieties that we don't have experience with, or are you doing something different with a varietal that we do, and are there lessons that we can learn or things we can take away? And it's a bit of kind of that rising tide raises all ships. It is, yeah. There's or you run into somebody that'll turn their nose up at you every now and then in the industry, but generally speaking, both, especially with my time on the collaborative, and it truly is a winery collaborative. It's run by winery owners and people within the industry that are directly impacted by the growth of the industry. So we're all out there trying to kind of put Michigan's stamp on the map of wines, not only in the country but the world. And so
You know what I found amazing was your last event of the season was the grape picking.
the grape stomp.
On the day after.
Yeah, so we did. Yeah, you were here for back-to-back days for I forgot.
Yeah.
So we do. Yeah, we do our big kind of, to kick off our harvest season, we do the grape stomp, which is one of our big music events, and people that get way too competitive stomping grapes in a barrel. But we have a blast with it. There's trophy on the line, so I would expect them to be competitive and have fun with it. But then that kicks off our harvest season. So then, yeah, when we're back and we're here to witness one of our harvest days. Where we take a team out into the vineyard and we pick our fruit by hand. And
so I asked a couple of people where they were from, and some people come all the way on the other side of Detroit.
Sure. Yep.
Just for that.
Yeah, for that day. No, it's fun. Part of that crew, so it's an entirely volunteer day. We have fun with it. We feed them lunch and give them a glass of wine for their efforts. We've basically made it either a Facebook event if we need a couple extra hands, or we have an Adopt-A-Vine program out in the vineyard as well.
Adopt-A-Vine, what's that?
That was one of the things, one of the positive things that came out of COVID. It was. We had just replanted on about an acre of vineyard, right as COVID was hitting, and not being able to do a lot of our normal events and have people in the tasting room, and it was a way to engage with people outside, and it was also a way it was actually brought on by a suggestion from a customer that's like, hey, we want to support you through this. We want to be there for you guys. We want to spend our money here, but we can't in certain ways. But would you let us put our name tag on a vine or a row out there? We sold rows in the vineyard during COVID for a couple of years there, and so every year, and we're just about to do our big spring pruning event with those folks. So our team here has pruned a decent portion of our vineyards already, and here by the end of the month we'll be out there and we'll prune our acre that was adopted by customers, and then they'll come back at the end of the season. So they'll grow from April through September, and usually by the end of September we're out there harvesting all of the fruit that we grew for the year.
I noticed that there's a new patch of vines growing.
Yeah.
How long do they take to maturity?
Yeah. So typically you're looking. Year 3 or 4, you might get the first little bit of fruit off of them, but it wouldn't be fully producing. By year 5, you'd hope that you've got well-established vines and you can let them hang a decent amount of fruit, so you're getting kind of a full harvest by year 5. And then, like I mentioned, about an acre of vineyard that we replanted during COVID. We would expect to harvest probably 2 tons of fruit out of that acre. So they can hold that. Most grapes would grow more than that if you let them, but the way we manage the canopy and manage the pruning and then the growth throughout the season, we limit that crop. It's a quantity over quality over quantity
So you
decision
have
at that
different
point.
types of plants?
We do. So on site here, we grow 5 different varietals that we use down in the cellar. Some of them are standalone and they make their own wines. So a lot of them, it's not a lot, some of them also get blended into various other wines. And then in addition to the wines we're growing, so we'll harvest, in a year, we'll harvest close to 8 tons out of the vines we're growing here on site.
8 tons?
Yeah, but we're processing close to 40 tons a year.
Wow.
So we go over to the west side of the state and we truck back fruit and juice to process here every fall. Yeah.
Wow. As a wine drinker.
Holly's area.
So I'm interested in the process.
Sure.
Is that curious to you, or you just care about the end product?
Oh no, absolutely. So we got into the whole Adopt-A-Vine, so we're part of that program.
Really?
Yeah. So my parents and my husband and I, and I can't remember if we ended up buying the girls some too.
I think at least.
And so we usually come and bring the whole family, and it's just a fun
And
event.
you come read stories to it. You give it a name.
Talk to it. No, yeah.
Right.
You gotta take
We're
take
like,
care
come
of it.
on, we
Yeah.
like to win.
Yeah.
Let's go. We got to be bigger and better.
The vine whisperer.
No, it's always a fun event for sure. So I'm excited. Janet had touched a little bit about you guys are kind of creating maybe some Melback and
So we've got a Shiraz coming
excited.
out, which is so it's again one of those kind of new to us things, and like we talked about, we've in our travels around the state had discovered that hey, there's people now in Michigan are growing Shiraz, which you go back 10, 20 years and that was a pipe dream.
Right,
But
right.
as the grape growers kind of improve a lot of what they're doing across the state, it allows us as winemakers to improve what we're doing at the same time. So
Very cool.
it's one of those things where again going back to that saying, the rising tide raises all ships, but also as kind of the expertise within the industry within the state increases, and that's part of what the collaborative was doing too. Hey, where
Right.
can we areas of improvement and research, and helping kind of with some grants and that sort of thing to fund
Very
the
cool.
growth of the industry in the state for sure.
I'm excited.
How much is controlled by the climate? Things that are outside of your control.
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, we're dealing with Mother Nature, whether it's the weather, whether it's animals, whether you
that's
name
true.
it, right? As trying to manage the vineyard here, and that's part of the reason why we do go get fruit from the west side of the state. They can even it's all Michigan fruit, and even just right over a couple hours away, they are growing varietals there that there's not a chance that I could grow here just because of the lake effect. So in
Really?
order to produce a Shiraz or a really nice Chardonnay or a Cabernet Sauvignon,
Right.
I'm gonna go get that fruit from them because they can grow it better than my microclimate here would allow.
So from picking
Mhm.
to drinkable wine.
Sure.
What's that process like?
Yeah, I mean your whites are going to be the quickest through that process, and those are anywhere. I mean we're down in the cellar bottling today, and so that's your turnaround from we were here at the end of September until the end of March, and we've got it in bottle ready to go, and we'll give it a month or so to kind of settle down and find itself once it's through all the processing, and then we'll bring it up to the tasting room, and so all of our new release wines will hit kind of usually right around May 1st, and so you're looking at I mean call it 7 months or so on the kind of quickest turnaround, but some of our reds will go through harvest and crush and fermentation and pressing, and then they'll sit in barrel for 3 to 4 years,
Really?
depending on how they're aging and what our goal with them is.
Wow.
Before we pull those down and blend the barrels and put it in.
Do you have wines in bottles from many years ago?
Yeah, we do. So we keep a little library collection
Really?
down in the cellar. As a point of reference about hey, you can go back and look at historical data for whether it's weather trends or find a similar year, or even just for our own, and then going back and that hey, remember when we did that wine and it was a really good one? Let's go back and taste it, make sure it's still good. We still like to remember it that way, but is it still good? And think about some of the decisions we made during that process. Which yeast were we using? How long were we aging? And what types of barrels was it in? So yeah, that little library, and then occasionally we use it as a fun little thing. We open it up to wine club members for a little wine club only or an exclusive offering to some of those members.
25-year-old something.
Yeah. Well, we're pushing 25 years here. We don't go quite back that far yet, just because of our history.
Yeah.
But I know that there are at least 15. So there's at least something 15 to 17 years old still down in the cellar that we've got. That's about the extent of our real library collection.
Does the taste change?
It does. It continues to develop. So if you think of a cork as it's minimally, but is truly a porous material, it breathes a little bit, and that micro oxygenation will continue to develop the wine over time, and eventually you get your tannins that are present in the wine. Those form kind of longer and longer chains, and eventually they get long enough where they'll fall out of the wine and precipitate out. So there's continuous sort of chemistry going on within the bottle that will your wine will evolve even in bottle. There.
So I would imagine that the taste is subjective to the taster.
Sure, and that's
well, I think it's always-
absolutely, and that's truly. I mean, one of the things we kind of pride ourselves on here is offering something for everybody. Wine, beer, cider, and then even within the wine list itself, sweet, dry, red, white, fruity wines. So truly trying to kind of, hey, take everybody's palate into consideration.
Can wine go off?
Yeah, of course it can.
Really?
Whether the most common thing would be oxidation. If you open a bottle, you leave it on the counter or leave it in the fridge too long. I mean, yeah, you're gonna start to get off flavors. The oxidizing it kind of gets a little. You think about licking a steel pipe and rust.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right. That's the
that's
kind of first indicator.
Yeah.
I mean, you might start to get a little vinegar or something over time too. If
Right.
kind of a use it or lose it sort of a thing too. So, and that's one of the go. Hey, we've still got some really nice wines that are aging nicely, and some that they kind of have reached their prime and now have started to trail downhill after time too. So yeah, find that kind of optimum drinkability, if you will. Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
We're working on
Yeah.
here.
Work in progress. We all are. Yeah.
What is your favorite part of the process in terms of you own the business, your hands in on everything? Obviously, you're good delegating. You have amazing people in place, which is half the battle,
It
right?
is, absolutely,
As any
yep.
type of business
Yeah.
owner. You're absolutely blessed to have Janet, right? She's probably the one I know the best.
Sure.
And
Wouldn't
she's
argue that for a
just-
second, yeah.
she's just phenomenal, right? And she also talked about the awesome creative space you've given her, right, to just kind of go with things, and that shines through. And then remind me, I know your winemaker, I can't think of what his name is.
Kyle in the
you can tell
cellar
that
and the
he
vineyard.
knows what he's
Absolutely,
doing,
yep.
and the passion. It just such a good vibe here. So as business owner, hands in a little bit of everything, what is your favorite part of the process?
Yeah, I would go back to, it's one of the things that drew me in way back to the beginning of my time when I was in New Zealand, just learning the industry. And what I really found out, there are pruning is a lot of hours and
Right.
you're out there by yourself sometimes in the sleety, rainy weather. Sometimes it's 80 degrees, literally depending on the day. It seems like it's a task that would never end when you look at a whole vineyard and I got to prune every single vine out there.
Right?
But then just when you think carpal tunnel is going to make your wrist fall off, hey, it's done and we're moving on. It's the seasonality.
Okay.
And then hey, we're into our time where we're bottling all of our wines and we're getting ready and we're ramping up for the summer in the tasting room and we got all of our events scheduled and the hustle and bustle and the excitement building for that.
It is exciting.
And then summer's here and it's go
Gung-ho.
time and we've got 3-4 nights a week of live music and entertainment and all the events Janet mentioned.
So you're
The
saying
dinners.
you get your dopamine from everything?
You do, and it's just when you feel like, hey, you might be burnt out by
Right.
that.
And
All right,
then
you
it's-
switch gears, and next thing you know,
It's
hey,
like
we
the
got to get back
seasons
out,
of
and
it,
it's time to go harvest the fruit, and that the excitement from hey, let's go reap what we sow, and then go
Right.
make the fruits of our labor truly turn them into some wine there. And,
I
so
love
it's,
that. I mean, spoken from a true entrepreneur,
Yeah,
right? I
no,
mean, in
it really-
terms of
it's-
business owner.
It keeps you on your toes, but
Yeah.
but it's that you're not going to get burnt out by it. You don't feel like you're going and sitting behind a desk and doing the
That's
same thing
exciting.
every day.
There must be a dopamine hit from people who taste certain things and they really love it. right?
Yeah, and then again, back
The
to
experience.
each their own, right? There will be wines in here there are plenty of wines on the list that I'm probably not going to take it home and drink it at the end of the day, but they're some of our most popular wines because there's this whole segment of the population that's their absolute favorite wine, and they come here and they see us just for that, and to know that we're able to provide that to people.
So I've discovered the cranberry passion.
Sure. That's
Because
exactly.
that's my gateway.
Perfect example.
That's the wine I had in mind when I was telling you I might not take it home and drink it.
bet you would.
Yeah.
we were telling Daryl that we're gonna do this again in a year
Okay.
and see how his
See if
palate
he's
has
evolved.
changed.
Correct, yeah.
Because that's what we were trying to explain is your palate grows as you grow, right?
Yeah.
In terms of starting with wines.
See if I look
and-
more mature.
Yeah, absolutely. That's typically the path that a wine drinker
Right.
takes. But it's not everybody's path. There are
Right.
some that hey, yeah, maybe they started in with the sweet stuff and they a year later they find the dry stuff, and what
Right.
was I missing this whole time? Some people never get away. Some people,
It's
you know what? It's
surprise.
and I just would rather I'd rather do a beer or a cider or something as well. So again, that's
Absolutely.
Do you serve beer and cider
we
here?
do. Yeah, beer and hard cider as well. That's truly why we
Cider
offer.
was my gateway to beer.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah, because beer took me a whole hour to drink a Bud Light. Oh. I said to these guys, "Do you ever get used to it?" He says, "Nah, always tastes like piss."
Yeah. I might agree with him on the Bud Light there. Yeah.
So, what is your favorite wine?
I am a dry wine drinker, unlike Daryl here. But no, I do, and I go through it. I tend to drink more reds in the winter, more whites in the summer. I don't think I'm alone there either. So yeah, right now I'm excited about some of the new releases we have, but if you walk in the tasting room tomorrow and look at the list, the Montage is my favorite red currently. It's always been a staple here, always been kind of a staff favorite, a nice red blend. I'm really excited for we've got our award-winning Vignole is coming back on the list here within a matter of weeks. 2 years in a row that we've won the best hybrid white wine in the state with that particular grape. And so and we think that this vintage is potentially even better than the last two. So excited about that. I'm a sucker being gotten my start in New Zealand. I'm a sucker for a Sauvignon Blanc as well. So that's become a staple on our list here as well too. So yeah.
That's my husband's favorite.
Yeah.
It's amazing that it's not
And my
called
mom's.
Sauvignon Blanc. Okay. So you're the same as Janet and Holly on the red and the dry.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we're both there.
What's your favorite wine and food pairing?
Oh boy, that is tough because Janet knocks those out of the park.
Right.
She really does, and it's fun as a winemaker. Ideally, I get to taste the food before we come up with the pairings, but because of timelines and constraints and her preparations, it's not always possible. Sometimes we have to shoot from the hip, and she gives me a description of what she's thinking about making and ingredients she's using, and we got to find one that works. Our last winemaker's dinner that we just did she had some Irish theme to her cooking, and we were finding wines to pair with that. And it's something as simple as can be, but it's the one that popped right into my head because it was such a good example of the potential that they have to kind of to elevate each other. I mean, it was an Irish cheddar beer cheese, a pub cheese dip and spread, and we paired it with our Cabernet Franc. I'm sorry, we paired it with our Shiraz, and it elevated both elements, right? It's
Really?
a fairly simple dish. It's a pub cheese spread with some crackers and some roasted vegetables, and just a really nice dry red Shiraz. But they really accentuated each other's the richness and the depth of the cheese and the cheddar, and the drinkability and some of the real character of the Shiraz kind of shone through. When you had them separately, they were both fine. They were both nice.
Just another
together.
level together.
But together, bringing that, and that's truly kind of the fun of some of the pairing events that
I
we do
will
out here.
make it to my mission this year to understand what you're talking about.
But see, when he was talking, I mean, you then want to try it, right? I mean,
Yes,
it is.
I do.
It's a whole
I do.
different experience when
Combining.
you have the two together,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And that's the exciting part about the different events they host. Is each one is different in terms of region, theme, and but using some of the similar wines,
So
and you're going to taste something different.
You're mathematically saying 2 + 2 = 5.
Correct.
Yes, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. They chemically change it as part of that experience.
those flavors.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
I'm starting to celebrate. All right. Best time of day to drink wine.
Any time of day.
That's a good answer.
No, I mean, I've always said that wine is something in my personal experiences that some of the most enjoyable bottles of wine I've ever had are shared amongst family and friends.
Absolutely.
And usually typically around a meal or as part of a meal and that kind of reflects a little bit of what we've done with the menu here, the
Yep.
wines here, is everything is meant to be shared, right? All of the, whether it's the flatbreads or the charcuterie boards or the shareable appetizers and the bottles of wine, it's something where you can set it on the table and everyone can kind of reach for it and
enjoy.
sit around and enjoy it. So I would say with a meal or with family and friends, doesn't really matter the time of day, but that's the optimum time in my mind.
That's a
drink a bottle of
perfect
wine.
answer.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm motivated because, as you can tell from my questions, and they're genuine questions,
Yeah.
because I come from nothing, not knowing anything.
Fair, yeah.
I didn't grow up drinking at all, so it's I don't know. Just hearing you and Janet talk makes you go,
There might be something to this. Then.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what would be your one word to describe Cherry Creek Cellars?
One word. Yeah, and not. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, and it, eventful, just because of all of the different things we have going on, and I like, again, whether it's the wine and the food, something for everybody, but on the events side of
Right.
things too,
That was
something
my word.
for everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's there is, whether it's that you like the music, that you like the dinners, that you like the sitting out here on a quiet weekday afternoon in the middle of summer and then taking in the vineyard views or a stroll through the vineyard. Truly, if you didn't enjoy yourself at one event, I'm sure we have another event that would suit your fancy, because it's all sorts of different, all the new offerings she's touched on.
Yeah.
Yarn Club, Book Club. There is something.
Bunko, I want to try
Whatever
Bunko one of these
your
times.
interest is we've probably got a way to would tie into something here.
Yeah, I haven't even seen a bunko, so I can't
Yeah,
relate
it's
to what that is either.
it's like coming back around again. So I would like to do it someday.
Lots of dice and noise and bells and whistles
Yeah.
and lots of fun. Yeah.
A lot of connection and sharing and drinking.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're not wrong. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the most overused wine descriptor?
There's probably a lot of them. I mean, fruity is the easy
Yeah.
fallback, right? I mean, it's all fruit.
Well, it's all fruit.
got some. Usually, you'd struggle to find all aspect of wine or all wine that didn't have some aspect of fruit tied in there somehow, some way. So yeah.
What's the worst wine drinking habit?
Worst wine drinking habit.
Mine was just drinking it straight down.
Straight from the bottle. No, is that or just the chug? Yeah.
Yeah, he said he couldn't. So I've had this set for this whole interview,
Okay.
right? And he said I just couldn't let it sit
Let it
there.
sit.
I would
Mine
just have to.
lasted less
Yeah.
than 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, and hey, if you're a sweet wine drinker, I mean, it's a little more apropos, or a dry red. That will, as you pour it, it'll open in glass and change a little bit as it opens up. So something to be said for letting it breathe a
Yes,
little
and
bit.
Are you saying that's sit now would taste different to when you first?
Than the first one.
When
Really?
you first pop a bottle, yeah,
Mhm.
and you, so that's why you'll see people either pour wine through, put like especially a
aerator.
dry red, pour it
Okay.
through an aerator, or pour it into a decanter and let
That
it
might
sit.
motivate me more to slow down so I can taste the
That's
difference.
what I was telling him. He needs to slow down and enjoy.
Mm. Funniest thing you've ever heard at a wine tasting?
And it's
Strangest?
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's one of and this goes back to one of the things that I found and enjoyed about the industry when I was in New Zealand, and from the winemaker that I spent the most time with over there, and we were doing a vertical tasting, so consecutive years of his Sauvignon Blancs, and comparing one to the other. There was one that just wasn't quite cat pissy enough. And he wasn't saying it was a flaw in the wine. It was just, it's a descriptor about
my.
typically New Zealand Sauv Blancs. There's a little cat pissiness to them. And it's just, it's always stuck with me from truly day one in the
And he
industry.
knows that because...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think that's a selling feature.
No, but it's a component of the grape, yeah.
Right.
Old World White,
Yes.
excellent cat pissy type.
Right.
Okay, if wine had its superpower, what would it be?
I might say versatility. It is like so like I mentioned, some of the grapes that we'll harvest out of this block here. I'm thinking about the block right here along US 12. That grape ends up in, let's see, in any given year, 3 to 4 different wines on the list and a hard cider.
Change
those wines
flavors.
range from sweet to dry. And so it's and there's all sorts of different decisions that go into that in the winemaking process, in the blending and everything before bottling. How much residual sugar did you want to leave in that particular grape from that particular year? And so you can take you and I could grow vines in two separate rows out here and say, I'm going to make wine out of my row and you're going to make wine out of your row. And all of the decisions we make, from pruning all the way through harvest, the decisions we make throughout the growing
season. Even the pruning.
Sure, because you're gonna let yours hold a heavier crop than mine, and you're gonna get your pH and your sugars will be different in your juice at the end of the season than it will be in mine, because you've cropped yours differently throughout the year. And then you're gonna make 100 decisions about what sort of yeast are you going to use, and what temperature are you going to ferment at, and all of those little decisions, those minuscule decisions in the moment, they add up to a completely different product.
Your record keeping must be
very
meticulous.
That's one of the things that Kyle, who we talked about earlier down in the cellar, I mean, he's as meticulous as he can be, or as meticulous as there is, and as needed to be, because it is a part of that, and trying to and then you can try and replicate it, right? But even you, as try as you might, you're dealing with, because of the growing season in the next year, you're dealing with a different input, even though you might be trying to replicate that exact same product.
But going back once to, this isn't you sit at a desk all day, right?
Correct.
I mean, it's also very cool, the whole process, and to keep going. I mean, it's kind of that each day or each season is different, right?
Absolutely.
Which is fun part of the process, I think.
It's fascinating.
It is.
Fascinating for me anyway.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if the audience think it's fascinating, but from a not knowing anything.
Just not knowing the behind the scenes is very intriguing.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I'd agree from mine and Holly's side. I think we all find it fascinating as well, from kind of knowing part of what ends up in the glass. And
So that answer came from a wine grower's perspective. What would you say a wine superpower would be as a wine drinker?
So I don't know if this is necessarily the superpower, but the way I look at it, like I already told Janet, when I retire in 100 years, I want to come work here.
More than welcome.
With your walking cane?
Yeah. You never see a sad person at a winery, right?
Yep.
There's just something to be said about the good people, great wine, great food, great vibes. It's just, there's just something to be said about all of it, right?
I would agree with that, and kind of tie that back to that kind of sense of community and that communal aspect of enjoying wine and food. And I think from a wine drinker's perspective and from an owner's perspective, I think that's an excellent answer for me.
Yeah,
ability to bring people together.
That's what I got out of the conversation with yourself and Janet, is the connection that people have with the different events, and everyone's experience out of the same wine are going to be different.
Sure,
too.
Sure, absolutely. Yep.
And then now I learned that even from the same grape, we're going to get different experiences. Wow,
not wrong at all.
What's the biggest wine myth?
I think that wine drinkers or wineries are kind of snooty places. That there's this intimidation factor of walking through the door. I mean, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is that you might walk through the door and tell me that I've never had a glass of wine or a sip of wine in my life. I'm bound and determined to find you something that suits you while you're here. It's a place to come and learn and be educated. You come in and tell me you know what you want and you know what you like. Easy job. I can point you right to where you need to go. You come in and tell me I don't drink wine. I don't think I like wine. To me, it's a challenge, and it's I want to show you that there is something out there for you, and not to be intimidated or think that wine drinking is hoity-toity and you got to do it with your pinky up. No, sit down here and look
at Holly. She's hoity-toity.
Not at all.
We take hoity-toity as well. But
to keep in mind that you also have beer and cider, right? Because I'm not a huge beer person, but one of the was it Feast in the Field? One of the beers that was served there was really good.
Yeah, I think if we've used several of them there, but the most recent couple I think we featured like our vineyards, which is like an orange wheat.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it was
twist on
amazing.
Orange wheat?
like
Yes.
an Oberon Blue Moon type style
So
of beer.
good.
Yeah, just a
Now
little
that to
fruit,
me made
little
me
wheat.
think of summer, nice cold beer. Like, and I'm not a huge beer
you
drinker.
make beers.
We do.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
That's what I want to touch on to make sure that that's also
Ah.
the cider and the beer.
And
So even if
you
you
make the
decided you
ciders
don't
and
like
beers
the
too.
wine,
Oh.
so
Okay.
there truly is something for everyone.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
thought you just sold beer too, but
No.
No, that's
You
our,
make
those are our beers. Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Is that what they call craft beer?
Yeah, we are a craft brewery.
Yeah.
Yep.
You learn something new every
I'm
day.
gonna walk out of this igloo more mature than I walked in. Okay. One thing people always get wrong about wine.
Always get wrong. That's a tough one. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of very well educated wine drinkers out there.
But yeah, I bet they even get it wrong.
Yeah, and I think I guess I would answer that question in people may tend to be too stuck in their ways and too unwilling to try something that
Ooh, yeah.
I tried a Chardonnay once and I didn't like it.
Never
I
liked
don't
it.
like Chardonnay.
Bit like
Right.
me and Brussels sprouts.
Sure, right? But
Haven't had it
you do
prepared the
some.
right way.
You cook it with bacon and balsamic. And,
That's exactly
and
what
crumble
Janet
some-
and I
yeah,
said.
And it might be. And oh, you've changed my mind.
Yes,
You just
yes.
boiled Brussels sprouts.
I
Right?
will
So
try
it's-
it.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I think that like I said, that every decision that goes into as a
Right.
winemaker, every decision is going to make that wine a little bit different than a different Chardonnay that you had down the road before.
Absolutely.
And not to say that you won't like that you would like our Chardonnay just because it's different, but I think you can say the same thing about somebody who I only like sweet wines. No, I bet I could find a dry wine. Maybe you just need that dry white that still has plenty of kind of bright fruity character that would maybe register as almost a little sweet, but even though there's no residual sugar to it, right? And so like give me the opportunity to prove to you that you might be okay outside of your comfort zone.
Would maybe serving it with a particular food. The
Also
pairing.
could do the trick as well,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I think you do that and experience that at some of the dinners where, and we tell people, hey, most of the wine, or maybe your dessert wine is paired with dessert and you go a little sweeter, but most of those wine dinners typically feature drier wines, and we encourage everybody, even if you're not a dry wine drinker, try a sip of it. If you're not a fan of it, great, I'll find something else that'll work for you. But we've paired these intentionally to highlight the wine and the food.
So we can make it equal 5.
So I would say no wines are created equal, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you can only drink one wine for a whole year, what is it?
Just nostalgic sake, I'll stick with the New Zealand Sauv Blanc.
Really?
Yeah, just for nostalgia.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah.
What's the favorite event you host?
Wow. The grape stomp that I mentioned is always a fun one.
We're going to have to attend that.
because of the enthusiasm and the energy that.
I didn't know they dress up.
Insert B-roll.
All right, baby! Great Song 2024!
Dressed like I Love Lucy. And,
That's what Janet was
yeah,
saying. Like,
yeah.
how did you already have an outfit?
I have an outfit.
Okay.
And do people register for that? They have...
Day of, yes. So
Oh, really?
we have. I mean, we only have space and time
Yeah.
and grapes to stomp for 16 people, 16 teams. And so we do have to fit it in. We let people, if you didn't get registered or didn't get your name drawn out of the hat, we let you go stomp around in it after the event, after the competition
There's some
itself.
wild ladies.
Oh, they go
They're
nuts.
like soccer mums. Come on!
All right, baby! Grape Stomp 2024!
It's a wild time. Thanks, Patrick, for joining us.
Of course.
I've learned a lot. I'm really motivated between talking with you and Janet.
Always a good time.
Well, we certainly enjoyed having you guys here. Hopefully you left a little more educated than when you sat down today.
A lot more.
That's part of the fun of what we do, and thank you, Holly.
And it shows. It always shows.
Yeah, for bringing
I'm
in
looking forward to the pairings and trying the things that I was scared of.
Yeah.
And getting into, I have to try and get you to try Vegemite. That's a good
I
trade-off.
will take that trade-off with you.
Oh, you've
It's a
already
deal.
had it. You've already had it.
I have not.
Really?
No, I haven't. But I would. I know what it is. I would give it a go. So
Okay,
we'll-
I'll come and
Play Let's
we'll do
Make a
some
Deal.
Vegemite toast.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
She's
I'm not sure I'll be
motivated.
Not
involved.
participating in that. Yeah.
Well, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Thank you both
Good.
for being here.
And
yeah.
we'll come back and we'll film some more events coming up.
Please do anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, and we'll see
Thank
you next
you.
week.
Sounds good. Yeah.